Rightio, folks, we are on our final insight for week 12. So here we go. So in the last video that you watched, we were talking about how technology shapes how it is that we communicate. So essentially we were making an argument about technological determinism. And in this very brief video, I promise, we will have the flip side of that argument. We will have the argument about social construction. So the idea here is that technology is shaped by what we want to communicate. So I know it's a strange place initially to start off with defining and trying to understand propaganda. But when we think about how it is that people use the tools of technology, oftentimes what they are choosing to do in order to gain some approval for a cause is to use the forces of propaganda. So essentially to use the same rhetorical devices and ways of convincing people of the rightness of their views through the use of technology, whether it is television, print, social media, digital media, music, and art, can all be used to basically broadcast the ideas and change the fundamental nature of a society. So just so that we are clear on definitions, because all philosophers are, propaganda has two meanings, one of which will be more important for what we're looking at in this class. But one thing to notice is that propaganda is something that is filtered, quite interestingly, by politics and church politics. I thought the inclusion of church politics within the definition to be a rather interesting development. So the important definition, of course, for us about propaganda is that propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular cause or point of view. So some similar ideas can be information, promotion, advertising, advertisement, and publicity. So you can see how commercial and capital interests can also be folded into a definition of propaganda, because really when you think of it, an advert or marketing is there to, it has a biased nature. It thinks its product or service is the best. It can be misleading, so it can sort of steer away from some of the negative effects of that product. But what it is essentially doing is trying to promote or publicize that product or idea. The less interesting one, of course, is that propaganda is the name of the committee of cardinals in the Roman Catholic Church that's responsible for foreign missions. We're going to focus on meaning number one. But with that said, I want you to think a moment about connecting up the basic definition of communication with the basic definition of propaganda. So if communication is the essential imparting of or exchanging of information and news, as well as how it is sent, then propaganda becomes particularly dangerous, especially if what it is promoting is targeting groups of people in specific with things that are hateful and dangerous. So, in other words, we need to be very, very careful around propaganda. But why am I including propaganda in a discussion about communication is an interesting one, and one that I am not going to be the one to impart that with you. I'm going to leave you this week with a documentary film that has that was recently at Hot Docs, which is the documentary film festival at the Toronto International Film Festival. And it is called Propaganda, the Art of Selling Lies. And it is a combination approach of looking at the history as well as the contemporary nature of propaganda. And I think that this helps us, in a more sophisticated way, understand the social impacts of the communication technologies and the ever-changing ways that we seek to use symbols and nonverbal communication as well as visual and audio communication to essentially sell ideas, and sometimes very dangerous ones. So what you are going to do now is I've a link in our weekly module for this documentary. You'll find it under the Do section of our weekly learning folder. And along with the documentary, I've created a worksheet that you can use to help guide your viewing of this film. And essentially it just gives you some, wait, let me see if I can bring it up here. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to try to get it in the frame. So this worksheet, you can download it straight onto your computer and you can type it in, your answers, or you can print this out and write in your answers, whatever you appreciate doing the most. And really what it does is take you through some of the technologies that are touched upon, and it gives you space to write a little bit about what this technology is meant to communicate. And the idea here is that you're building your observation skills as to how communication technologies are used to create very particular messages and messaging for all sorts of causes, everything from imparting mythical stories to recruitment posters and even ISIS recruitment films. So this documentary gives us the widest range of thinking about the social impacts of communication technology. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I found it absolutely fascinating. Okay, folks, so this is a wrap up of all of the screencasts for this week. Hopefully you have found them helpful and enlightening, and if there's any more information that you would like for me to share with you, if there's something that particularly piqued your interest and that you'd like to learn more about, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'm happy to find some more sources or even chat some more with you about this really fascinating topic. Okay, I hope you enjoy the film. Pop your popcorn. Bye.